Hi, I thought it might be fun to show you my design process when I'm creating a new granny square motif. So for example, this is my latest design, but it didn't start off like this. It actually started off like this. So this was my first attempt. The aim was to make an 8-petaled square flower motif. So obviously we've got a couple of problems here. One is that the contrast between the petals and the background isn't strong enough. Secondly, I didn't kind of like how there isn't a nice sharp definition from the centre of the flower, between the centre of the flower and the petal. So that's not just a contrast of colour issue, that is an issue with just the way the stitches fall into the previous round. And the other thing I didn't like was these kind of filler stitches where I'm trying to kind of make the background of the block. So obviously it was difficult to tell because the contrast colours are quite similar, but I didn't kind of like how it was sort of pulling all the petals to the left, creating a slight spinning effect, which I wasn't very keen on. So this was attempt number 2, and the changes I made here was to add an extra round of single crochet or UK double round the centre of the flower, because in general working multiple stitches into a smaller, tighter stitch such as a single crochet will give you a neater edge. So whilst the definition between the centre of the flower and the petals is much better with this one, I still felt it wasn't quite right, and also I was getting a bit of an octagonal look in the centre of the flower. Also, where I'm have done the final round, I'm trying to square off in this 1, 2, 3 in the 4th round, where I'm building the corner. It's kind of made a bigger gap between the petals, so you end up with these pairs of petals rather than nice evenly spaced 8 petals. So then this is attempt number 3. So I've addressed the issue with this definition between the central part of the flower and the petals to give a crisper definition. So I've just put in another round, a round of single crochet, but in a contrasting colour. And then when I've worked the petals, I've only worked them into the back loops of that second round. And then I've decided, instead of trying to square off in the round directly after the petals, I've decided to square off in a separate round. So to just create a circle first to fill the gaps between the petal, and then square off on a subsequent 5th round, and I think that works much better. The other thing I've also done is to further reduce this spin effect of the stitches pulling the petals to the left. Instead of going into the spaces here, like I've crocheted on these 2 versions, I've actually crocheted into the space in the middle of the petal. I've actually only caught the back loop of the chain, and that actually gives better definition to the petal, as well as stopping that spinning effect. And also obviously I have used a much darker contrast colour, which makes the petals stand out even better. So round 5 I squared off, but the previous round 4, I felt that sort of slightly, I don't know if you can see, there's a slightly open, where I've done this multiple Y stitch. I felt that openness kind of didn't match with the rest of the motif, which is quite solid. So then I've moved on to version 4. So version 4, all the things I've already mentioned, and then I've made an additional 2 changes. One is to completely fill these Y stitches so that it creates an almost solid background behind the petals. And then I've gone up in contrast again by adding an even lighter colour for the petal to give more contrast. And then in an attempt to make the petals slightly more 3D, I've only caught the back ridge of the chain of that tip of that petal. So actually I haven't really decided. I mean, I prefer how I've done rounds 4 and 5, so I think that's a definite improvement. But I'm still haven't really decided about the petal, whether it looks better sort of flatter in the motif, or whether it looks better slightly proud like this, so giving a little bit of texture. Anyway, that's a brief explanation of how I came about designing this motif. So let me know what you think. Do you prefer the petals on version 3 or version 4? And also, if you'd like me to write up this pattern and do a little video tutorial, please leave me a comment. Thank you so much.